Welcome MLSListings to another vendor spotlight. As you can tell, we're here today in Sunnyvale Quarter at the MLSListings headquarters, live with our good friend. She's the CEO and co-founder of Symbium, Layla Banjamali. Layla, thanks so much for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Nice to be here.
Oh, it's always awesome.
Finally, we get to see each other in person.
It only took 3 years, but we got you here.
The 3 longest years of my life.
Yeah, we promised you some things, maybe some Chinese food. But no, thanks so much for coming. It's awesome that you're here. I'm getting a little nostalgic, because it was, a few years ago, we first did our first vendor spotlight with you. And you guys had the Symbium build, awesome product, feasibility of getting the ADUs up there. If you haven't seen, those vendor spotlights, definitely watch them. And then you guys top that with 3D mapping and layering. Then you got permit information up. And today we're going to talk about another achievement, the Symbium rebates, right?
Right, that's exactly right. Yeah. In fact, before we get too far ahead, I just want to mention that, the realtor group in California, realtors period, have been the largest and fastest growing user of Symbium. And in fact, MLSListings was our very first partner for our realtor launch.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
you guys.
No, thank you. It's been a great partnership. These Symbium rebates here. So you guys have actually, rebates, we're in California, and obviously these Symbium rebates for high, energy efficient appliances. And you guys actually make it so now you can actually find out what rebates are available, and you can even apply for the rebates on your site, right?
That's exactly right. So, before we talk about that, this is, now we're entering into the field of transactions, which is sort of a new territory for Symbium, and I think the largest opportunity that we see ahead of us. But when we take a step back, and actually many steps back to where we first started from, what we were trying to understand is, what do people like as the ideal user experience when they're trying to understand what's possible on real estate, on either their property or something that they want to purchase, maybe a project property? And so the very first point for that was to understand, how can we help people to visualize the regulations right at the front of the screen?
Right.
And that was the launch of the ADU tool we call Build. And so since then, we've noticed that people are using that tool and understanding, okay, now I can have this accessory dwelling unit on this property, my property, or, how many can be located in this particular neighborhood and how big can they be and all that stuff. It's really changed the face for how project planners, whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, interface with properties,
right,
with the web. And so what we noticed was in talking to some of these users is they want more than that. It's not just what can I build and what does it take and what are the requirements, but how can I actually now get it done? And submitting those permits, applying for rebates on those projects became essential to the next step of our growth.
Sure.
And so that's where we are today is, working through helping grow this sort of rebate experience, this permitting experience across California.
Right. And in California, obviously these rebates. I think that the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah.
They gave $4.5 billion, right, to basically incentives to states to give these rebates out and replace these older appliances and renovate with new energy saving.
That's right. Yeah. So so just for some background, in fact, it's actually $8.8 billion of rebates of the type that Symbium will be deploying. In fact, we're currently in talks with the Department of Energy to understand how we can be the system to deploy these rebates across the country. Now, when it comes to, why is this important? So it's important for a number of reasons. You nailed it by talking about decarbonization. Decarbonization is an absolute goal, not just locally, but at the national level. And what's happening is we see these efforts, these aggressive goals to completely decarbonize construction, to electrify all vehicles, and so on and so forth. Now, what the limitations are and have been primarily with regulations, but also, understanding the complexity of regulations, how long it takes to get these things done, but also with regards to the availability of rebates and incentives and people just not knowing where to get them. And this has been a major concern for low-income communities as well.
Sure.
So those point of sale rebates at the time of purchase is really, really critical for those groups.
Sure. And, I think everybody would love a rebate, right? But it comes down to, do I have to give promise my first child to get this rebate? I mean, there's so much red tape. You just think of the government bureaucracy, the time involved, and there's just so many factors people have been turned off that they oftentimes, probably don't even know about it. And even if they did, then they might not do it just because of all the hurdles in the way of that relationship between, citizen and government. It's kind of a, not an easy relationship, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So typically when we talk about citizen to government interactions, which is exactly what Symbium is streamlining, that's our mission, is to streamline these citizen to government interactions so that, everyone from homeowners, it doesn't matter which community, to contractors, realtors can understand exactly how to navigate these complex processes.
Right.
So that's critically important.
Right. And I saw, I think the Wall Street Journal said 40% of the rebates are left, never get.
They're left on the table, because people don't know where to even look for them.
Yeah, that's a big chunk.
That's exactly right. And when it comes to decarbonization, the U.S. has a goal of decarbonizing millions of square feet of residential and commercial properties. In fact, this has to happen and to meet some important goals. Now, the reality of it is the only way that that's going to happen is if current properties, most of the construction being built is actually older than 40 years, 50, 60 years old.
Right.
And so when we look at those properties, there's a massive opportunity to decarbonize them. And so we're going to be looking at these types of permits for decarbonization, installing heat pumps, solar on the roof, EV charger in the driveway, battery storage. And now that you've done all these things, incentives, rebates, so that people can actually, these costs are basically subsidized.
Right. And in California, obviously, we're very green, and we do care about climate change is a big deal. And so a lot of homeowners, they might not even have been looking for a rebate. They might have just done it. They're looking to renovate just because they want to, limit their carbon footprint. But they're actually getting the best of both worlds here because, they get to help the environment, of course. And then they get the utility bills every month, that reduction in price, right? Just from energy saving appliances. And then you get the rebate as well.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So all of these things go hand in hand. In other words, so if I'm a homeowner and I'm looking, and this is very important for realtors to know about, is these are issues that, it's important not just to talk about the pricing of homes and comps and sales, and all of that is very important for sure, but there's a periphery of issues too that come into play. And knowing how to talk about these things gives realtors, I think, a real edge when they're talking to homeowners or home buyers. And so when we, take a step back and try and understand, what do our clients go through? What do your clients go through as realtors? You start to understand that all of these experiences they have as homeowners are in multiple siloed places. When they want to understand, what can I build on my property? They're talking to a contractor, they're talking to an architect, maybe someone in the city or building or planning department. When they submit a permit, maybe someone is doing it for them, and they have to email back and forth with some city official to understand the status of that permit. Once the thing is actually built, let's say, again, solar on the roof, EV charger in the driveway, they have to call for an inspector to come, pick up the phone and call for an inspector to come and visit the property. And good luck trying to reschedule that inspection. And then from the perspective of incentives and rebates, once all of that work is done and the inspectors approved it and the permits have been finalized, the incentives are the hardest things to find. Where do you even get them? Do you get them from Lowe's or Home Depot where you purchase that appliance or assembly? Do you get it from your contractor? Do you get it from a utility company? Is it the state? Nobody knows. It's so disparate. And what we've done with Symbium Citizens Dashboard is we've harmonized all of these siloed experiences into a single unified dashboard to make it easy for anyone to do any of these things.
Yeah, I've watched the video. You guys have a nice little 2-minute video on the actual, how to actually submit see what kind of rebates. And literally it's 2 minutes long because that's just about how complicated it is.
Right.
You guys always make it easy.
Well, I personally hate demos. So, I tried to make it as pain-free as possible. And so I told the team, look, 2 minutes or 3 minutes max, that's it.
Right.
When I was a lawyer, I was representing a lot of tech companies and I was sitting on some of their sales meetings to third parties, and they'd give these 30-minute long demos, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so painful to sit through.
Right. So
I was like, 2 minutes. If they want to know more information, they can just reach out to us.
Right. And talking about simplicity, you don't have to be really that technologically advanced to input.
No.
It's real simple. You put, hey, this is what I got. Here's the rebates, and then you guys streamline the whole process.
Yeah.
Have you heard from anybody?
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about the specifics of who, but
Sure.
our first user was actually an older woman, single, living in Southern California. Definitely an age group that's much higher than what we think is tech savvy, and we were so happy that this user applied for a rebate on Symbium. This just happened weeks ago. Right when we soft launched this, we haven't even really announced it in a major way. And so she discovered she was a user of Build, which is our ADU tool, and realized that one of the buttons was new, and she clicked on that. She's like, "Oh, I actually have a appliance that I installed that qualifies for rebate," and she clicked on that, filled in the form, submitted it, and that's it. Now she's just waiting for her money back in the mail.
That's fantastic.
So super exciting.
You guys got to use that as a testimonial.
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, I'm going to be reaching out to her and taking her out to lunch and maybe getting her a gift or something. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, actually I have a buddy who just like 2 days ago, his water heater burst, right? And which happens to a lot of people, right? And so this is like, well timed. I'm going to call him and be like, "Hey, take a look, see if you can get," because he's buying a new, it's an energy, efficient model, and maybe he can get a rebate.
Yeah,
So,
look, there's all these, reasons that cities are taking a progressively more aggressive approach with regards to installation of these decarbonization systems for residential properties. In the city of Palo Alto, they had announced that really want at least 1,000 new heat pumps to be installed in the city, sort of making it a mandate. In the state of California, a new law was recently passed called Senate Bill 379 that actually mandates the local building departments to make available a public-facing permit compliance tool for solar installation. In other words, a contractor who's installing solar should be able to go to that city's website, enter in the address and the permit information, and get an instant approval of a permit to start the work. And this is California's attempt at getting more solar on more rooftops across the state. We're going to see this across the U.S. eventually. Right. California tends to be leading in these areas.
Right. Cities, utility companies, they're all incentive laden for these rebates and go energy efficient.
That's exactly right.
Solar panels and so forth. So you mentioned permitting. And so it's another really big factor here. So, if I want to do a renovation here, let's say I'm putting in a new deck or something, my options have always been, oh my God, well, I can do it myself, which, even if I find the information and know where to find it, the things by the time I'm done, maybe those codes are changing already. They're always changing, right?
Yeah.
I could go down to City Hall, I guess, or whatever, the planning department, and probably get, a different answer depending on who I talk to.
That's right.
Not to mention, we're post-COVID where a lot of agencies are understaffed. That's going to take probably some time, right?
That's exactly right.
So you guys came with your permitting functionality, which, not only can you get information with Symbium about permits, but what permits are needed for this project, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes some appliances obviously don't need it, but some do, to make sure that they're right permitted, installed right, and all that red tape and good stuff. And so you can see what permits are needed, right? And then you guys can apply for the permit as well.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. So, what we did was, look, all of these projects, everything that happens to a property with a property happens because it starts with a homeowner just having an idea.
Right.
The homeowner has an idea. That is the starting point. I'm thinking about doing this, or I'd like to save money, or I wonder what it would be, to do X. My neighbor did it across the way. What would it be like for me? What would it cost me? Where could I do it? How much would, how long will it take? What will it save me over time? What value will it add to my property? These are really important questions that homeowners have. And so what we decided to do was, instead of focusing on the universe of things that people could do on their properties, of course, we started with ADUs, and now we are focusing on express permits and rebates. And express permits just means the types of permits that don't require architectural plans or plan review. And in addition to the solar permitting that we're doing, express permits could include things like installation of EV charger, a lot of electrification work, a lot of plumbing work, windows in some cases. So it's a very large subset of permits, and it's actually 60 to 80% of all building permits submitted. So it's a very high volume of permits. People don't know about this. Express permits is actually a very large volume of what should be very easy and fast permits to get. And so Symbium is making that a reality by incorporating that type of permit experience right into the platform, so homeowners and contractors can apply for permits directly on Symbium. And it certainly helps that we have a lot of city partnerships across the state that gives us that direct access.
Yeah, that's a big point. And you guys really become like the management system for the relationship between government and the citizen.
That's right, yeah.
And I think you're taking that pain away. And in doing so, you guys really have, in my opinion, put yourselves in industry leader, really, in terms of availability of data, property data, accessibility, transparency, right? All the things the government may not be so great at.
Yeah.
And you guys have really streamlined it. It's amazing.
It just comes down to this. Consumers want something really beautiful and intuitive to interact with, and that's what we've created. We just decided, look, doing these things, these types of what have formerly been complex and difficult and broken citizen government interactions, we've created an experience where it's as easy as buying something on Amazon, as beautiful as an Apple product. And that is what we've strived towards.
That's fantastic. The old saying, I'm from the government and I'm here to help, the scariest, well, you guys really have taken that fear out of it.
Yeah.
On your site, really easy to use. Really help everybody goes on there. It's a really easy to get to. Citizens tab at the top, right?
Yeah, so it's basically the Citizens Dashboard is available at Symbium.com. Symbium.com is where you can find all of our products, and it's the starting point for every Symbium experience.
Awesome. So have we left anything out here? We covered a lot of ground. What's the future? I guess I know there's because of the comp law and how the way you guys do it, really limitless on where you guys could go. And obviously you've given us a glimpse of kind of where you're taking us.
Yeah, so the technology that we employ that allows us to take these, regulations, these complex regulations and processes and build them right into the front of the browser is vertical agnostic. We decided to start in government because it's the largest industry on the planet, in planning and building because it's the core of every city's activities, whether it's residential construction, starting a business, taxes, it all comes down to planning and building. And then from there, I think we're going to be expanding into other areas. But right now, we are laser focused on getting this permitting and rebate solution pushed out across California. And then, of course, it's going to be the rest of the states after that.
That's fantastic. So, yeah, to our subscribers, if you haven't, if you're not up to date with Symbium, there's Symbium Build or ADUs, watch. We've got 3 or 4 vendor spotlights now.
We do, yeah, not enough in my opinion.
You have to come back for another one. I'm sure you're going to be come back, and we love to have you. You guys always have new stuff that's really cool. The site's amazing. It's so easy to use. We get great feedback from our subscribers.
Thanks, Dave. And I have to say, it has been a real pleasure just joining you for these moments. I feel like you and I have this natural chemistry on and off screen. It's a good thing that people don't see our off-screen banter.
That's true.
There's really no limits, right? To what we talk about.
We do have that tape, but it will be probably used for blackmail one day against us. But we have a great time. Thank you so much. We're going to have you back.
Thank you.
Everybody at home, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Make sure to check out our Pro Support page for additional videos on a full range of topics. And don't forget to click that subscribe button on our MLS Listings YouTube page.